Hey, I'm Nate Flax.
I'm Noah Longworth-McGuire.
And this is Talking Lion.
Talking Lion is a podcast focused on artist-to-artist conversation.
We're primarily artists, a duo called Sleeping Lion, but we've been lucky enough to write, produce, and hang out with so many incredible rising artists since we started our project.
Whether it's at sessions or parties or over cups of coffee, we've talked with our creative friends about everything. Music, life, love, and all the subtle complexities that come with being in the middle of a journey.
Talking Lion is about hitting record on these conversations and sharing them with you. There's no real structure, nothing really prepared, just friends talking about life and what it's been like and where it's going.
We recorded this episode with Tim and Bolan from the Australian-based band Cubsport.
We had first heard of Cubsport through their covers on Triple J, and from there became fast fans of their awesome discography. Though we knew their music beforehand, we actually recorded this episode within minutes of first meeting them.
Some context for this interview. We recorded this in the midst of Pride Month, as Cubsport was in LA following their headline US tour around their recently released self-titled album. They also went on an arena tour supporting Vance Joy in 2018.
With distinctive lyricism and fantastic songs, Cubsport continues their rise to global acclaim. Likewise, at the heart of their music is Tim and Bolan's decade-long relationship, which has inspired many in the LGBTQ community.
It was great getting to know Cubsport in real time, and we hope our listeners have had an incredible Pride Month.
So,
without further ado,
we're Cubsport, and you're listening to Talking Lion.
well, hello. Welcome to Talking Lion. Thanks so much for coming on. We are here with Bolan and with Tim, and I'm really grateful that you guys are here. This is the first time we've had an episode where we get to meet at the table.
Yeah.
So, but first and foremost, what brings you guys to Los Angeles?
We just finished a month-long tour of North America.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was amazing. I think it's my favorite tour we've done.
Was there a city in particular that you were really excited about or that surprised you?
Seattle was like really amazing. And I think there were like 3 times as many people watching us as the last time we played there, which was really cool. And like just, good vibe, which was a nice surprise.
When you can like plot that growth, that's really exciting. And, plot that growth with like heads in the audience. Was there any interesting like tour stories, any snafus that went awry that, funny in retrospect? Or was it smooth sailing?
Yeah, it felt maybe like the smoothest tour we've actually had, especially one that spanned such a large distance and time.
Did you guys go to New York as well?
Yeah, it was a great show.
My hometown. Where did you play in New York?
The Knitting Factory.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How was that crowd? Did my people?
Yeah, it was one of my favorites. Yeah. So good.
That's awesome. Well, it's really exciting. You guys are promoting the self-titled record that just came out. That's an awesome record, and truly, like, you guys have this sound that's very unique, but also feels very nostalgic. And lyrically, it's very poignant. And so I really appreciate everything about that. But you guys are from Australia, yeah?
That's
You're
right.
saying Brisbane?
Yeah.
Did I pronounce that?
Yeah, that's really good. Most people say Brisbane.
Yeah, well, we had our friend Kurt Yost on, and he's from, I think, around the same area. He was saying it's kind of like the south of Australia.
He called it the Bupkin State.
He did call it the...
I don't know what your opinions
It's
are
a pretty
on that.
conservative state.
I think that's what he was referring to.
So you both grew up there. Did you meet while you guys were... How did you two meet?
We met when we were 12. Tim had been going to this one school since kindergarten, and I started going to that school in middle school, in grade 8. And our first memory of each other is seeing each other at the mall, like looking across at each other over this like juice bar. And we both remember it.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
And so were you both musical at that point?
I started playing piano when I was 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
So I was a pretty good pianist at that age. I hadn't started singing yet though. And Sam was kind of like a singer, but hadn't really started piano
I sort of picked
yet.
up playing piano around that time.
So you guys sort of had a flip towards the...
Uh-huh.
What... Were your parents musical as well? Like, what sort of inspired the initial start to, try to at least get good at the instrument?
Mum played guitar and piano, and I remember she would play like certain piano pieces, and I would just like lose it. I like loved it, like run around the lounge to it. And so she asked if I wanted to have piano lessons, and I started it, and then just kept going until my teacher retired.
What pieces would she play?
I can't remember actually. I remember there was like a kind of ragtimey one that I was like, hell yeah.
Those are always fun.
Yeah. So my grandmother was like a classical piano player, but I don't think that ever like hit me as much as when my dad played Yes for the first time. Like he played the Rick Wakeman solos. And I'm like, that's piano too. That's crazy. And what about you? What was like the music that you were sort of growing up around?
At sort of at the time that I met Tim, I had been doing like a lot of musical theatre
Oh,
stuff.
good.
And it was seeing Tim play piano at a talent quest in that first like semester I was at school.
Oh, wow.
And I went home and I said to mum and dad, I want piano lessons.
Tim inspired. That's awesome.
That's great.
That's a beautiful, just like
It's like a
parts
full
of,
circle
parts of
thing over and
of
over
the
again.
puzzle. Theater. What kind of musicals were you into? We're both recovering theater kids.
musical
Yeah.
theater.
Oh my God,
Everyone
me
is.
too.
Yeah.
I find that some of my favorite pop writers out here like either loved like metal and punk or musical theater or both. It was just how that came to be. But yeah, we both did. My mom's a theater teacher too, so
Oh, cool.
well, yeah. What musicals were you into as a kid?
I loved Rent.
Oh yeah,
And mum and dad loved Jesus Christ Superstar. So that was like probably one I knew better than others. I think I had just done Bye Bye Birdie. It was probably the last thing I had done before Tim.
Everyone was obsessed with Wicked.
Oh,
I
okay.
remember it's just like, we've seen it live so many times now. So it's like an obsession.
Les
Something we
Mis,
gotta...
Phantom of the Opera.
I'm a big Stephen Schwartz fan, so like Pippin and Wicked definitely were like around the house as a kid. Were you doing musical theater as a kid as well?
I didn't really play many leads. Bolan was always the lead in every musical he ever did. The one lead I got to play was Marius in Les Mis.
Oh,
that's a
nice.
good one though.
That's a good one.
Bolan was Javert.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, but you get empty chairs, empty table.
Yeah,
that's
So
a great
yeah,
song.
so you get to have that big like emotional moment. My friends, my friends. Who are you in? Were you in Rent?
No, we've never done Rent. We were
Okay.
just obsessed with Rent.
If you could be somebody in Rent, who would you be?
Oh, I'm sure this would have been
Angel.
different. Yeah, I was gonna say Angel.
Both of you
or,
would be-
or maybe Mimi. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's nice. I think that'd be Mark. I think
Yeah.
one of my like highlights of being 16 was I was on a cruise with like the family and made some friends, and at like 1 a.m. I jumped on the table and did the whole La Vie Boheme thing. Like that was,
Oh my god.
I don't know, you know, like, we can all dream. You know? But we all start a musical like tomorrow. And, so when did you start? Did you start playing in other bands together or other bands separately before starting Cub Sport together?
Top Sport's the only band I've been in.
Wow.
You played one show in Hello Yoko.
Yeah.
Zoe and I were in another band together called Hello Yoko, and it was kind of like folk. And it was nice.
That's
We
great.
still listen to it sometimes. But yeah, Sam played flute in one show.
I
He
don't
doesn't even play flute.
at all. For some
Just
reason I
picked it up for the
did.
show. It's a
Yeah.
hard instrument to just randomly pick up. Like,
Yeah, I don't think I did particularly well or anything.
I feel like one thing if you like, you know, you're a piano player and you pick up guitar or you whatever, but flute, like I don't know how to breathe. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, ever try to like, likewise, just randomly pick up a reeded instrument? You have to like learn everything
You
about
do
how.
so much with your
Yeah.
just your mouth and
What's
your
that?
lips.
It's a
and-
wonderful word. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
The
of
word for how you're supposed to shape your mouth.
Embouchure.
Embouchure. For how you... We're going down a rabbit hole.
Embouchure?
How you're supposed to put your mouth on a sax. There's a whole word for that whole
It's a whole thing.
contraption.
It's
but,
not
how
for
did
me.
you meet Zoe?
Zoe went to the same school as us.
Gotcha.
So we've known of each other since we were like 5 or 6 or something.
So you guys are really like a hometown in the works for a while. Like it,
Yeah.
When would you say you like officially put Cub Sport the name on and made that the thing?
We released our first single in 2011.
Wow.
And we were called Cub Scouts at the start. And then we put out our first EP in 2012.
Was that Told You So?
Yeah.
Cool. I was seeing from like 2012 to like 2016 there was like 4 EPs. You guys were prolific. What was that? Were you just writing every day together? Like what was that experience like?
There were 2 official EPs that we put out. I think that there was like, once we got a label on board, they kind of released some things in different
Forms.
different
they're
forms.
called,
That, yeah.
like repackaged.
But yeah, I'm always writing a lot. So yeah, I think it's kind of always how I've been.
And do you primarily write sort of on your own, or do you guys write together, or how do you usually like start? I mean, I know every song is different, but how would you say it usually goes about, if there's a usual?
I pretty much write everything by myself, and then I do some co-writes and that sort of thing as well. I've written a couple of songs on this tour, and one of my favorites that has come from working on music while on the road is one that we've done together. And Sam had kind of just done some instrumentation, and I listened to it. I was like, oh my God, this is my favorite thing you've ever written. It's so beautiful. And then I kind of just like added a bunch of stuff to it and some vocals.
And you did it on the road.
Yeah.
What's that one called?
It's called 18.
Nice. Well, we'll keep an ear out for it. In the coming months and whatnot. But that's all. I mean, especially because when you're on the road, you're like almost on a different planet. You know, like suddenly there's no home base, there's no whatever, just the people that you're around and everything. So where was your head at for that song?
It was it feels very nostalgic to me, like the music itself, and so it kind of like got me like thinking back to like earlier life, and then it's kind of like revisiting the feeling with like a shifted perspective and trying to, I guess, kind of like looking at the things that have happened and like learning from it. Yeah, that's sort of the vibe.
I think what's weird is just like the perspective you get on even things that happened 2 years ago or 1 year ago. I feel like everything's, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you both?
28.
Yeah, there's just so much perspective that like keeps on like, I feel I'm being bombarded with perspective.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful thing, but also a bit of a terrifying thing, because the biggest and the most huge, things that I experienced as a kid are so small comparatively, or at the same time had such lasting effects. But I'm very excited to hear this song. What were you about to say?
I was gonna say, like, I also think that as a writer, like, writers and songwriters especially have a very intimate relationship with nostalgia, because you spend so much time like documenting your life and thinking about it and like putting it into words, and it makes it really like this very tangible thing, this like interacting with your past and having perspective, because you're always interacting with it in writing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think songs also grow over time. Like there are songs off our first album, and I'll be like playing it one night and all of a sudden be like, oh my goodness, like that's what that lyric like really meant all along, or something like that. And things kind of like the meaning develops over time as well.
Definitely.
It's cool.
So sometimes your subconscious is trying to tell the world something.
Yeah, for sure.
Through whatever you're writing down. So you're like, oh yeah, that was a fun little rhyme, or that was like a clever little turn of phrase, and you're like, a couple months later, you're like, oh shit, like, I meant that about that thing, or. Or maybe we just, on a post like retrospective, just are able to look back and give things meaning. But I think what's really interesting about your lyricism and about your songs is that, a lot of it is about your developing a relationship and about coming out as well. Around what time did you both start seeing each other, and when did that become part of your story and your writing and your message?
Well, we first started hanging out like every day when we finished high school, and there were for like a year after that, like as soon as we started hanging out all the time, we were like together properly.
Yeah.
And then after just over a year, it got to a point where I was like, okay, I need to get my life together. I need to like go to uni, become a dentist, like find a girlfriend. I like had this idea of like what
you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the path that I started heading down. Thankfully, Bolan like kind of followed me with studying dental, and so we continued to spend every day together, even when we weren't like together. And then in 2016, it was about this time of the year actually, and we were on tour in the States, and Pride was happening like all around us. And just after the attack in Orlando happened, we were in Denver for their Pride that was on, so we went along to that. And I think it was kind of seeing just that like community within the queer people, and just the love and acceptance and the extra support that felt like it was there after the Orlando attacks happening. That was like the last little push, I think, from the universe to be like, this is like kind of your family or whatever, like, and kind of realizing that it's okay to be yourself.
Well, you're saying in Brisbane it's a bit more conservative. Were you scared growing up? Was there fears around feeling or experiencing like things in a different way?
I feel like it wasn't Brisbane specific.
No.
It was probably more to do with the religious upbringing that we both had, and I guess just fear of disappointing your family and that sort of thing.
I don't know if you guys watched the show Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but there's this wonderful episode where one of the main characters says when people step up and are able to be honest about themselves, the world becomes a much more interesting and amazing place.
Mm-hmm.
I think that really hit when I saw it, but I think too just like that speaks to what you guys not only have found within each other, but are also able to represent. You know, anybody who's honest about who they are able to inspire other people in the same way that everybody at Pride was able to inspire you both. So you both are married as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got married.
When did you get married?
August last year.
Mhm.
Did you get married here in Australia or
In Brisbane.
Brisbane.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. What describe that scene? What was the scenery like? What was the
So it was late winter, which in Brisbane is pretty comfortable.
Kurt was saying it's like hot and like unbearably hot.
Yeah, pretty much. And we had about 100 or 110 people there in like a converted warehouse space with lots of plants, and it was pretty chill. It was pretty perfectly tailored to us. It was very like low key, low stress.
We walked down the aisle with our dogs.
Oh.
Yeah, it was really cute.
I love that. So have you guys had a great time at Pride in the States now? Have you gone to anything in Los Angeles or anywhere during this month?
Our dates haven't quite lined up this time. We just missed LA Pride, which would have been incredible. The Veronicas performed. I really wish we were there. But no, not this time around, unfortunately.
If there are people listening to this who don't know how to come out or how to speak to the parts of themselves that they're unsure of, what would you want to say to them? What do you think they would want to hear?
I feel like it really needs to come down to like what you want, and I feel like something that is broader than just like coping with your sexuality or whatever. But if there's anything in your life that you feel, but you kind of feel like you can't, if you feel like there's something that you want to do, but you are like kind of scared to try it, I feel like you need to ask yourself, like, if you're doing something because you love what it is that you want to do, or if you're like being held back by fears. And for me, that coming out as gay was like the first big step where I was like just kind of pushing my fears of what would happen aside and just like going for it. And that felt like such a big turning point, and so many other things fell into place after that. But I feel like it's really important to take your time with it until you really do feel comfortable like telling people. And I know that for a lot of people it isn't necessarily safe for them to come out to their family. So there are so many different factors, and it's so different for different people. But I think like doing it for yourself and doing it out of self-love is like a very good approach.
I love that. And here's hoping that we're all moving towards progress as a country and world and all that. It's interesting that you're also saying, because there's that lyric that you wrote on the index card when you came in about like avoiding and about avoidance and about how avoiding a problem is a problem. What is the lyric specifically?
I fell in love with avoiding problems, and that was the problem.
That's great.
And that's from Come On Mess Me Up.
I fell in love with avoiding problems, and that was the problem.
How did that song come to be?
I'd been listening to a lot of Leonard Cohen and
Nice.
Chelsea Hotel No. 2 in particular.
That song is so good.
Yeah. I remember hearing the lyric, giving me head on the unmade bed, and just being like, oh my goodness, like, what do his parents think? But yeah, I remember just wanting to be able to be that free with my lyrics. And after listening to Leonard Cohen, I was kind of looking at the songs that I'd been writing. I was like, oh, I'm like really limiting myself by trying to only write about things that I can hide behind. Like every song had like some funny story that I could be like, oh, it's about this. So I kind of wanted to write a song that just felt meaningful and didn't have like some funny second meaning or something. And that was how Come On Mess Me Up sort of started. And I wrote the first 2 verses and the chorus, I think, in 2013. And then I finished it in 2014, in 2014. Yeah, it was kind of like the start of a new style of writing for me, like lyrically.
Just being like blunt and straightforward and without being transparent. That's the word. Well, I love that. I love the sentiment of it too, because I mean, I'm pretty cynical about relationships, but it's like at the end of the day, you do get to choose the people you let in and the people who mess you up. You know? So it's like the invitation of it. It made me like smile, but also really feel it, like in a really cool way. You guys are an independent band, right? How has it been, running everything, as a team together? What have been the rewards and what have been the challenges, would you say?
It's been incredible. It's completely unique, I guess, to maybe, I don't know, what a lot of people do. It has been a lot of work, obviously. The 4 of us try and run it like a global major label as much as we can. And we're super lucky in the combination of people we have in the band. Everyone sort of covers a different base, personality-wise and skill-wise. And one thing we've all shared right from the very start is the vision of where we know we want to get to. So there's equal drive between us, which just helps us like keep pushing forward.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like every duo and every band is somewhat of a delineation between, the same types of skill sets. Like, Noah and I, like I'm the one who goes out and talks, and Noah has the most incredible work ethic and talent. Like there's all these things, as far as production, writing, and business side and everything. But I think what is really interesting, and sometimes I wonder whether we're independent out of a stubbornness or wanting to, at least if we're going to sink the boat, sink it ourselves, But I think it is. Was it a conscious decision to do it, or was and were there times when you had doubts about it, or has it been you guys were like, "Yep, this is what we're doing," and stuck with that?
We did have a like kind of bigger team in place when we put out our first album. We had management and we were signed to a label, and it really took a lot longer just making things happen because it had to be approved by so many different people. And I think that our vision was still in like a developing stage around that point in time, and we hadn't come out. There were a lot of things that I think just kind of we needed to figure out on our own before Cub Sport was ready to like blossom. And I think that would have probably been a challenge for a team who were trying to market us and that sort of thing, which I completely understand. But when it came time to releasing our second album, Bats, that was the album that I wrote kind of as I was figuring out what I was feeling, and I came out in the middle of writing that album. So it's kind of like the lead up, the moment, and then just after it. And
is the record structured in that sort of development as well?
The track listing isn't like chronological, but I feel like you can kind of piece it together. But with that album, it was the first time that I had really like revealed myself that much, and I didn't want to be caught in any situations where people had any sort of doubt or different opinions on like what things should be, because it felt so right for me, and it was the first time that I'd really embraced like my own power and belief in myself. And so for that reason, it felt like doing it on our own was the right approach. So yeah, we just set the release date and let everybody know that we were going to be moving forward completely independent. Then we just started emailing everybody that we possibly could, and managed to pull together a really amazing global team who understand it and empower us and believe in us. really
Well,
amazing.
I think people underestimate how challenging it is, one, to schedule around somebody who writes to the sort of fiery, prolific level that you do. Like that, you're coming up with ideas and things are inspiring you, and do you have things to say too about your own life? Like that's happening, and that doesn't necessarily fit neatly into any kind of album cycle. And likewise, you guys spend a lot of time together. I imagine like there's so many different ideas around marketing and around plans and about everything that comes from just breakfast and from walks or going to the movie. I genuinely feel bad for our manager because we live together, so one day we'll have the plan for every single we're going to put out for the year, and the next day we scrapped all of them and we're taking 2 months off to write, and or I call him up, by the way, we're starting a podcast, like but I feel like it gives you guys the freedom to decide what you want like the project to be, and I think that it shows, especially in the record that just came out. Like I think that there's so much personality and so much, to a degree, just like newness and freshness to it that I think is hard to sort of contain in that like album cycle structure to a degree. But I think what sort of conversely, I think what's interesting is I think first sonically were introduced to you guys by your covers. By Ultralight Beam on Triple J. How did that collaboration come to be, and what was it about that song that spoke to you?
We're big Kanye fans, and that song in particular is probably one of my favorites he's ever put out. And when we got asked to come in and do like a version, we were on tour in the States.
It was that tour we got together, actually.
That same tour.
Just a couple of weeks before.
And we had a drive from Salt Lake City to
Denver?
Or was it? No, I think it was down to San Diego.
It was.
And we just spent the whole drive figuring out exactly what the harmonies were.
I had like a 25 key little keyboard plugged into the aux cord. I don't remember how we did it.
I think it was like into
like
a
a laptop.
into aux.
Yeah, that's right.
And like playing it and singing it just over and over. And that cover was kind of a point in time when people were like, oh, wow, they can actually play live, which was really nice. I feel like that shifted a lot of people's perception of us.
Yeah.
It's funny, like even 20 or 15 years ago, the idea like of a band, not necessarily being able to play live was such a novel concept. Like obviously if a band's putting out a record, it means they recorded that record in the studio live. But now there are so many people who are like crushing it in streams. And I've seen, they play a show and it's not a great performance, so there's no musicianship. It's so interesting that people still want musicians, but don't always know whether or not that's what they're bargaining for when they get into a band. So that's the thing that was so interesting. I think that like the harmonies that you had in that cover really like stood out to us, and
Cool.
In a really cool way. And also that song too, I remember, I think the first time we heard it was in Boston, like
59 Burbank.
59 Burbank.
Yeah.
Which I don't know who lives there now, but we were just like listening on like an old speaker, so it was distorting on every bass note. And like even the choir in that, like the original recording is already distorting by like the production. So it's just this crazy, and we're just like sitting there like, this is Kanye?
Yeah.
Like, we had kind of accidentally missed Kanye. And then that was the introduction. And then we went back and
That's a good
did our
introduction.
homework. But that's awesome. And then you recently did When the Party's Over, Billie Eilish. What was it about that song that hit you?
I think the harmonies again.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, we love singing in harmony, the three of us.
It's like a guilty pleasure.
And
Billie's so amazing. Like we love everything about her. And we sat down and played through it and just sort of, I don't know, it felt right.
I think what's cool about Billie is she's opening doors for a lot of people. To be able to just...
You know what's also great about that song that it just occurred to me the other day? It very much feels like a Leonard Cohen song in some kind of way. In the way that the melody's just like in Hallelujah, there's a very strong progression to how the melody moves. Like it's very intentional and like segmented. How it goes up and down.
Which, I mean, cool. for that to come out now, I mean, I think what's really interesting is just like the flow of music in the last like 10 or 15 years has been like interesting thing gets homogenized, and then everything starts sounding like when Teenage
that's
Dream
like the
came out,
last
it was
50
incredible,
years.
and then like everything started sounding like Teenage Dream. You have this
Justin
sort of
Bieber,
Jack
Jack
Macklemore, and like LMFAO, and like the whole sort of thing.
Skrillex and Diplo.
And we see now, we didn't know them, but we see now is because everybody's coming into sessions referencing the songs. It's like, oh yeah, can we have that harmony that sounds like Billie Eilish? But it is cool now that the door that she's opening isn't sound like Billie, it's sound like you.
Yeah.
And which I hope is the takeaway. I know that there's plenty of people who just want to sound like her, but I don't know. I think it is just sort of this interesting time to be making music because we have a lot of choices and options, and you can be independent without and my dad wanted to be a musician, and that would have been impossible. He had to drop $15,000 on gear just to get a compressor to work.
Yeah.
You guys were on tour with Vance Joy.
Yeah.
How was that? Was it an
so
arena
good.
tour?
Yeah.
Wow.
Full-blown arenas, yeah. It was cool.
Did that freak you guys out?
Not really.
Felt great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
And what was he like on what was those shows like, and the audience and the vibe of those?
He is the biggest sweetheart. He's just so nice and so down to earth. And the whole team was amazing, and the audiences, it was like a more family-oriented night out, I think. Maybe compared to what we're more used to, and it was lovely. It was super chill, nice people. It was great.
Keep the swear words on the down low.
Yeah. Finish early every night. It was so good.
What's interesting about those shows too is very likely somebody's first show. You get to be that first concert experience, and maybe they become musicians, and then they're asked like, oh, what was the thing, and it could be seeing somebody perform. I think that's the responsibility anybody has when they perform is playing a good show is playing a good show, but like changing a life subtly is, or unsubtly is very interesting. What is your favorite Vance Joy song?
Saturday Sun is pretty fun.
It goes off at his
It
show.
does really go off.
But can you really go past Riptide? I feel bad saying
hard to
that.
get away from
It's so good.
It is really
Well, I
good.
would say if you had to cover one of his songs, which one would it be? Would it be Riptide?
I think so.
Yeah.
But are you guys ready for lightning round questions? Though lightning round is a bit of a misnomer. You can take whatever time. you
Okay,
want.
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lightning round is like the opposite to what I'm good at.
I would say thunder round. Thunder's
Yeah, it takes longer.
takes longer. Yeah. What was your first concert?
This is one that I should just go back and figure it out because it was either Savage Garden or Dido.
Oh wow!
And I can't remember which one came first.
Still good first
Yeah.
concerts.
I also saw The Cause at my parents owned a Donut King, and it was in a shopping center, and it had like a split mezzanine level, so it had an open balcony that looked down into like the center stage where they would have like performances and Christmas things. And The Cause came and played, and I saw them like there on this tiny weird little stage.
That's awesome. What about you?
My first concert was a band called Scandalous.
Scandalous.
And they were the winners of the first ever Australian Pop Stars TV show. And they played just like near the town hall in Brisbane, and I went in, and I don't know if they were actually playing live or not. So yeah, I don't know if it really counts as a first concert, but that was it.
That's awesome. My dad, he took me to my first one as like a band that he liked, which I would wind up liking, and then I made him take me to one that I really liked. So my first was Yes, and my second was Green Day. So
Amazing.
Cool.
My first concert was Serge Tankian with the Milan Symphony Orchestra on his first solo tour.
Since
Like
System of a
orchestral-
Down, right?
Yeah, the singer
Yeah.
from System of a Down did a symphony tour across
Whoa.
Europe.
Wow.
And he played with the Milan Symphony Orchestra. It was a wild show.
That is definitely
very
something.
strange. What are your phone backgrounds?
A photo from our wedding.
A photo of Tim with our two dogs.
Aw,
Those are great.
those are both really sweet.
Do you have any non-musical hobbies?
At the moment, no.
Walking.
Yeah, walking the dog.
feeding yourself.
Laundry.
Yeah.
Do you have any skills that you would like to have?
I don't know. I'd love to be more flexible than I am.
Nice. I want to be able to do a flip as a kid. I still can't.
I did gymnastics growing up, and that's one of the things that I've lost big time is my flexibility. I feel like a piece of wood now.
I can even touch my toes, honestly. So
So I would love to get that back.
I'd love to learn another language properly.
nice. Do you speak any other
Yeah, I speak Japanese and French.
Whoa. Like that was you just dropped but you're trilingual just off the cuff. That's all. He speaks Italian.
Pretty
Cool.
Which fictional universe would you guys want to live in?
Oh, maybe the X-Men.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
This isn't Tim's area of expertise.
No.
What would your mutant power be if you were in the X-Men
Oh,
world?
it's too hard.
You can think on it while he comes up with the
Probably telekinesis.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Like Xavier telekinesis or
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey telekinesis.
Yeah, Phoenix.
For those listening, they're like, that is a different. Those are different powers.
Different things. It's yours.
I really don't know.
The Kardashians universe.
Ooh,
Ooh.
Yeah.
that's a fun
In
one.
whatever fictional world.
Actually,
that
I would
is.
change to that. That was an option.
Is that considered fictional?
No, I
In
just
a
mean in a
sense.
different world.
I would want to live in the
In a
House Hunters
different
fictional
realm.
universe where for $500 you can buy a beachside property.
HGTV.
HGTV
That's my
fictional.
fictional universe.
The HGTV cinematic universe.
Yeah.
They put out movies every year.
I would love that. This is an interesting question. It's what's your superpower? Not what superpower would you like to have? Like what's something you consider is like your
I feel competent with communication.
that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Is
that a
superpower.
an
superpower?
important skill.
I consider it, for me, knowing who to call when something needs to happen,
Mm-hmm.
for me feels like a superpower. Like I feel like Mr. Fantastic. It's like my arms can only go this far.
Uh-huh.
My phone can go farther.
Nice.
So, what would you say your superpower is?
I feel like we're a bit psychic together.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
for sure.
Yeah.
Do you talk in unison? Every
Talk
once
in
a while?
unison
Pretty
relatively often. Often we'll be thinking the same thing, and then one of us say and be like, I was just thinking the same thing.
Sometimes we'll like just drop in like partway into a conversation that we had never actually started, but we're both already thinking about it. It's like shared thoughts or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever watched like Westworld, but I find that sometimes we accidentally find ourselves in conversation loops where we'll forget that we had a conversation,
yeah.
and then he'll reply to something that I said that was in reply to something he said. We've already had this conversation. That was our sort of default response.
Yeah,
to
there's
things.
just a very straight logic to just like if someone says this, they're probably gonna respond this way.
We find the same thing happens after like a tour like the one we just finished, that we'll be doing the same thing in parts with Zoe and Dan. Like just sharing that sort of space, you'll all of a sudden form a psychic link.
I think like
Definitely.
our subconscious, I think we store people really well, like better than we think. Because you ever have a dream where somebody feels very real
Yeah.
in the dream?
Yeah.
Like I think that's just like the hard drive, like storing that
There's
stuff.
there's so much nonverbal information that we don't intellectualize that we all deeply understand.
So yeah, I think that we definitely accidentally have done entire sentences in unison just because that's where we're at that point, and we know what the other is sort of more or less. But yeah, you spend enough time around anybody, and you like you get a part of them in your own brain, which is crazy.
Like how you can know someone's like footsteps. Or,
Yeah.
like the way they breathe. Like just like very small things that like it's hard to explain why you know that, but it's very real. Now on to the most important question.
Most important question.
Would you be a pirate?
Oh no,
Probably
the ocean is not for me. Past where it gets like over the continental ridge is just, that's no man's area for me.
Yeah, I don't want to be.
You know,
I would absolutely.
I
be
would
a
not be a
pirate. I'd be a
pirate.
good pirate though.
you would be.
What
a
about
good
the
pirate.
huge waves though?
Yeah, that's really what does it
Terrifying.
in for
My
me.
dad like had a membership at sort of a sailing place, and so I would go sailing a lot as a kid. So when the waves were really bad, that was the most exciting part of the whole thing.
Do you guys have any tattoos?
Yeah,
Quite
quite
a
a
What's your first
few.
tattoo?
What was the first tattoo?
Yeah.
Missy and Evie, our dogs, on my left thigh.
And I've got Clover, who's Missy's sister, and the cat we share on my leg.
That's great.
So Evie is the name of your dog, because it's the song name too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What are your favorite colors to wear?
I don't know that I really have a favorite color to it.
We have a lot of black and white.
We wear a lot of Cub Sport merch.
Yeah,
You
we
guys
have
are rocking
all-
Cub Sport merch
pretty
right
much
now,
either
yeah.
black or white at the moment.
Which is good. I mean, you should like the merch you make, and wear the merch you make.
That's our rule. If
Yeah.
we wouldn't wear it, we won't make it.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's been such a good conversation starter on this tour because we're all wearing these world tour tees. It's like our favorite design ever. Bolan designed it.
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
great. Yeah, that's a great shirt.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, so many people are like, so are you a band? And then they say they're going to look us up, spreading the word.
It's a viral marketing.
Uh-huh.
You're the advertisement.
Yeah. What's your favorite holiday?
I guess Christmas is always pretty like special.
420.
Yeah, 420 in my adult life.
It's a good one. Do you guys have a favorite sound?
I love the breeze going through the trees in the nature reserve near our house, and the birds in there, all of it together. It's very nice.
And our dog's playing.
Yeah.
That's really cute.
Favorite movie, book, and TV show, to the best of your ability.
Favorite book is A Little Life.
Oh.
Oh, who's that by?
Hanya Yanagihara.
Huh.
TV show, one of my favorites of all time would be The Office, the US Office.
Yeah.
And then movie. I'm not a huge movie person. I don't know if I like...
Burlesque or Crossroads.
Yeah. Either Burlesque or Crossroads.
What about you?
My favorite book is a book of Leonard Cohen lyrics that my dad gave me.
That's awesome.
Favorite TV show is RuPaul's Drag Race.
Nice.
Favorite movie, probably Burlesque or Crossroads. It's like a warm hug.
That's how I feel about Good Will Hunting. I think I've watched that movie more times than anything. I don't know if it's like my favorite movie, but something about watching it is just at the end, I just feel so good. Like, oh yeah, anything, like life is good. You can get over anything, you know, you can.
What's the best date you've been on?
Well, I've only ever dated Tim, so it was one of those. I don't know. We basically spent a decade together, even though we weren't together. So it's kind of hard to delineate that time into what was like dating and what was just like when we were all of a sudden together.
Maybe like a nice moment, like a nice like day or dinner.
I have this written in my phone. I've got like a list of best days of my life. I should look at one.
I think that
Of moments like this.
I used to do that. I think it's nice to just like be able to presence like what are good days.
Yeah.
Just so that, you know, when you're having a bad day. I think having a bad day, what makes it worse is thinking you're never gonna have a good day again. It's just remembering like how much warmth and love is in life in general.
Oh, there are so many on here. It's
Oh,
like
yeah,
had
so
pages.
nice. That's
That's
so
awesome.
nice.
We
Yeah.
had a
So
really
many.
good day off in Philly on this tour.
Mhm.
And we got to spend most of the day, just the two of us. And yeah, we went for a walk and then had a picnic by the water and then went to the art museum and then went home and recorded some music. Got Uber
That's a
Eats.
perfect day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love Philly. Philly's fun.
Yeah.
It was great. It really turned it on for us this time around.
I love visiting my best friend there, but I really go for the cheesesteaks.
What's the best Halloween costume you've done?
I had an Avatar costume, but I don't think I
Like
actually
Last
wore it for-
Airbender, like Avatar, the
James
blue
Cameron.
James Cameron.
Yeah, the
like
blue
yeah,
avatar.
blue
Okay, gotcha.
Avatar. But I don't think I ever actually wore it to a Halloween party.
You just wore it
I
around
just
the
like
house.
came like sat on the couch in it one night.
Did you paint yourself?
Oh no, it was
was
just like a latex,
like a
full
catsuit
body-
kind
Oh,
of
gotcha.
vibe.
Yeah.
Spandex.
Spandex, yeah.
Not
Not
latex.
That would not have been
That'd be
just
uncomfortable.
sitting on the couch.
I think that same year I was like a sexy sailor or something. I don't know. It
Nice.
wasn't
Good.
particularly good.
We always opt for like lazy that we can like 2 years ago we were Miguel and Tulio from El Dorado and we just bought colored shirts.
Yeah. Anything we can do with just buying colored shirts, sign us up.
I put on my jacket and said I was Tommy Wiseau. I didn't have a costume. I just said I was Tommy Wiseau.
Can either of you whistle?
Yeah.
Tim whistles really well.
I didn't really know that I could until I whistled on one of our songs, As Long As You're Happy. And then for the live show, I just started doing it. And then I realized that everyone was really impressed with it. It's like, okay.
Can you whistle the part?
Oh, the pressure's on now. Get side on for the mic.
Side on, yeah.
It goes
Okay,
on for a
that's
bit
tight.
longer.
Yeah. You have that like you had that like that 30s 40s like little slide on that one though. That, like that.
What's something you did that you'll never do again?
Pretend to be straight.
I'm just gonna leave that there.
Yeah, we're chopping it.
Yeah.
Do you either of you have a scar with a story?
I do actually. I had like a huge, like 10-cent Australian 10-cent coin gouge out of my chin.
Whoa.
We had been out one night in our partying days, and we were walking back to a friend's house, and for some reason one of the people at this house had taken a chair from this bar nearby back to their place, and it was like this famed thing that they did, and we were walking past the same place to get home this one night, And we were like, let's get a second chair to complete the set. So we went over the fence to get a chair and realized that someone was still working there. So we like dropped the chair, jumped over the fence. They started like running after us to like tell us off. And a friend of ours was wearing high heels. So I like waited back with her. And then like, you know, once she was good to run, we took off and my shoes had no grip whatsoever. Like they're like pointy. I don't know why I was wearing them, like pointy leather shoes.
Knights, like elven.
Yeah, like so very much like that. And then went down like a slight incline and just completely stacked it. I think it had been raining.
Ooh.
And then
Stacked
went
it.
back home to
I've
my
never
parents'
stacked
house
it,
and had to
stacked
get
it,
them
yeah.
to take me to the hospital.
Oh, man. And it was just a gouge like in your chin.
It was like a huge chunk out of my chin, yeah. And they like hot glued it together
Ooh,
instead
wow.
of stitches.
Yeah. Is stacked it falling?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good. That's
Again,
good.
we're learning from our
Have a little
Australian
notebook
friends,
that we
yeah.
keep them in.
Didn't mean to throw a spanner in the works.
Oh, nice.
Do you guys have any recurring dreams?
I've had a bizarre one for the first time in years just this week. I've had this dream that involves like an ex-coworker, like boss kind of person. And I have no idea. I don't know why. It's the third time.
Do they do
They
anything?
just show up.
Or?
No, just showing up.
Huh.
I have no idea what it means.
What about you?
I can't like piece any recurring dreams together, but I've been keeping a dream journal over the last couple of months to try and like piece some recurring things together.
Well, it also just like helps you to like start remembering. I think it's like definitely a bit of a muscle. Like I started a couple years ago, like just waking up and before doing anything, just like writing down on my phone like what the dream was. But now I feel just like better at remembering it. We would even walk to breakfast and just be like, I had this dream last night. It's super weird.
Do you have any advice for your teenage selves?
I don't know. I wouldn't change anything about the path that has brought me to where I am. Like I wouldn't change anything. So I guess just, I don't know if I would give advice or just let it happen the way it happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to interfere, but I feel like I could probably have done with some encouragement and knowing that the person that I actually am like is like fine and that I don't need to worry about being myself.
As the helicopter flies. I love that. I think that is the interesting thing is that like there are so many things like I wish hadn't happened, but I wouldn't trade this right now. So
Yeah.
it is a complicated question.
Definitely.
Would have been nice to just know, just have somebody be like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any advice for new artists, producers, and writers?
I would just say be authentic in everything you do. I feel like that permeates every part of your life and it can only be for the best.
Yeah, I feel like I would say the same thing. I think one of the hardest things is maintaining your
Belief in yourself.
Yeah, and like creative clarity if you're wondering what other people are thinking or like what other people want from you. I feel like if you're really doing it based on your own feelings, then you can't go wrong.
Appreciate that a lot.
What are you most proud of?
Probably the journey I've been on. Like I've been really conscious over the last few years of trying to put only, obviously never perfect, but like, only positive out into the world, positivity and kindness. And I feel like that's something I would tell my younger self is to be more kind to myself and to other people and to use that as a filter for everything I do and say and think. So maybe that's what I'm most proud of.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, I would say just the journey as well, personally and with everything that we've achieved as a band. It feels like where we were 3 years ago and like where we are right now we're like completely different people and completely different artists. And I feel like that growth and focusing on just trying to do better for ourselves and others and the way that that's kind of led us to where we are and where it is leading us is kind of, the whole process of it is what I'm proudest of.
And what I love about answers to both of these questions is how much beautiful weight you have in the journey of it. I think any artist at a certain point realizes how important every step has been. Every action has an unequal, chaotic reaction. And, it could be the thing that you spent the most amount of time on gets the least amount of traction, and the thing that you sort of, made on a whim or did it on a whim could have the biggest sort of profound consequences. But I think it is a testament to how far you guys have come, and to the differences and how many people are in the audience and how many people are listening and connecting with the work, that you guys know where you started and how much space is between that moment and now. I think it shows.
And lastly, what are you most excited for?
Everything. I want kids like today. But there's so
is
much
that your next stop today? You just head into the kid emporium?
There's I don't know, there's everything to be excited for.
Yeah. Our personal lives and the band and the way it's all intertwined. I feel like what's to come is going to be really exciting. I'm, excited for all of it.
Well, we can't wait, and I know you guys are already starting to write from the road, so it'll be exciting to keep up and hear what comes next. So thank you so much for being on today. Thank you for
Pleasure.
a lot of people listening. We'll be able to connect to your story and your music. And like I said, we have this sort of responsibility to them to make everybody feel not alone, to feel like we're all like together. The positivity that we do put out, it comes back. So thank you so much. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yeah,
and get to know you at the table.
Yeah.
Hope you have a wonderful time in the States.
Thank you so much.
And happy Pride.
Thank you.
Yes, happy Pride.
'Cause I want this, I want this. So come on, mess me up. And you can break me if you still take me. Ruin me if you let me be one of the ones you say you won't forget.
We would like to thank Jägermeister, Outlaw Energy, and Isotope for their early support of Talking Lion.